friends. Welcome to another Grow Kids Curriculum Deep Dive. My name is Linda Moon, Director of Grow Kids Curriculum.
And I'm Kelly Gentry, Manager of Community Engagement. We are deep diving into our 8th series of Grow Kids Volume 7, a series called Glow in the Dark, a 5-week series from the Gospels about Easter.
And if you are new to these deep dives, our goal is to give you a head start into preparing for this series, especially since it's the Easter season. There's lots to do. And if you are a Grow user, this is going to help you seriously get a head start because you are following our recommended scope and sequence. But if you are not a Grow user, totally fine. We're so happy you're here, and we hope you get some great ideas you can take back and use in your own ministries.
For the next few minutes, Linda and I are going to give you a big picture view of what you can expect during this series, and then we'll take a more in-depth look at some of the specifics that we definitely don't want you to miss. So first, we'll give you an overview of the Bible stories and the big idea for this month. Then we will take a look at the theme for the series to give you some decorating ideas. And finally, what we'll do is we will go over some of the special features that this particular series has to offer so that then you have everything that you will need to get started and make this series awesome. In week 1 of Glow in the Dark, we start off in John chapter 2, which is the story of Jesus clearing the temple courts. Jesus was upset with all of the goings-on that overshadowed worship and obscured God's light. What Jesus did is a great reminder that when darkness tries to creep into our lives and our places of worship, we can shine God's light.
In week 2, we go to Mark chapter 14 for the story of the Last Supper, where Jesus shared this last meal with his friends. This is a time when he tells his disciples about his imminent suffering because someone at the table would betray him. Now, despite this dark cloud looming overhead, Jesus focused on communing with his friends to show that he would be the hope amidst all this brokenness and darkness. So this week's big idea, Jesus is the light in the darkness.
Which brings us to week 3, and we continue in Mark, but this time in chapter 15, where Jesus appears before Pilate. When given the choice to release Jesus or Barabbas, the people asked to free Barabbas, but to crucify Jesus on the cross. While it didn't happen that day, this story reminds us that we can choose Jesus.
Then in week 4, we're in Luke chapter 23, and we're talking about the death of Jesus. From the people crying out for Jesus to save himself, to the criminal at his side who cried out that Jesus was innocent, to Jesus' own cries as he breathed his last, we can find comfort in knowing that God hears our cries.
Finally, in week 5, we're wrapping up the Easter story with the most crucial part, Jesus' resurrection in John chapter 20. We'll see how his friends struggled to believe this impossible truth. Jesus died and rose again.
And the memory verse for this month is all about how God is our light. It's Psalm chapter 27, verse 1a. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? All right, it's time to talk about the theme. This month's decorating theme is neon because we're talking about how Jesus is the light. And as the name of the series suggests, it's also about how Jesus helps us glow in the dark, too. And I know most of us meet in the daytime and it's not possible for us to get all our spaces to be completely dark, or maybe we don't want to, and that's totally okay. You can go with all the glow-in-the-dark accoutrement or just go wild with all the neon colors. And Kelly here is going to help us with theming up our space. Kelly, tell us what you got.
Yes, so if you do want to turn off the lights, step 1, turn them off. Step 2, turn these on. These lights from Amazon are so fun. Your kids will love them, and they go perfectly with the theme for this series, Glow in the Dark. But if you're wanting something a little more traditional for your stage design this month and very easy to do, check out this glow-in-the-dark cross from Amazon that will light up your space and will keep the kids focused on what we're talking about all month long. However, if you do choose to glow up your space, we are sure that your kids and volunteers will love to get their own glow swag. Linda and I have already ordered these glow-in-the-dark fidget spinner bracelets, and we think that your kids and volunteers will love them as well. Now, a fun tip for those is you can hold on to them until your kids recite this month's memory verse, which Linda already told us was Psalm 27, verse 1a, because these will be big hits, I'm sure. And so we want to make sure that everybody knows the memory verse and everybody gets their own glow-in-the-dark fidget spinner bracelets. Linda, I'm going to put them all up my arms so that I can glow.
Hey, I wish we had them now to show you. We did not think in advance. We are sorry. We'll be back with our glow in the dark merch. I don't know what it is about glow in the dark, but kids love all the glowy things. If you ever go to a theme park, kids are like, I want all the light up things, right? So your kids are going to have a blast. So will your volunteers. So make sure you take lots of pictures and just have a lot of fun. And don't forget to check out the environment guide where you will find even more ideas, if you can believe it, with prizes, giveaways, crafts, more decorating stuff, even a music list and a Pinterest board link that you can all check out to help you set up your space for glow in the dark. Okay, so we gave you an overview of the series and a look into how to theme up your spaces. Now let's talk about some of the exciting features of Glow in the Dark. Now, if you have been using Grow for a while, then you're familiar with the fact that we do keep certain things same from series to series. So our teaching section is always broken up into 3 parts. We start with the what section, where we have kids kind of teasing into what we're going to talk about today. We introduce some of the concepts, we play some fun games, and then we move on to the so what section, where we do the bulk of our teaching. We teach them the Bible story, we reveal the big idea, we do the secondary scripture. There are object lessons and videos and more activities to help reinforce what they just learned. And finally, we have the now what section, which serves as our application time, where kids can reflect and respond and develop some action steps and practice their memory verse and respond to some Bible review questions and sometimes do a fun craft. So that is how it's broken up from series to series.
That basic structure stays the same every time, but each series does use a combination of building blocks such as activities, videos, reflections, response, and more in each major section to help you teach the material to your kids in a fun and new way each time. Every series does something a little different with the building blocks, and that keeps it engaging. So Linda, tell us, which feature of Glow in the Dark are you going to tell us about right now?
So I want to start off with the Bible story. That is our primary scripture section. And we love telling the Bible story in fun and engaging ways, and not just having the leader talk at the kids, but to bring them into the story and have them interact with what's happening. So in Glow in the Dark, what we're doing is we have these little sections called Scripture Spotlight, just to go with the Glow in the Dark theme. And so that is how we're going to introduce little snippets of scripture during the teaching. So every time the leader would say Scripture Spotlight and read a few verses, and the kids can like wave glow sticks or have battery operated tea candles. There are a bunch of fun little interactive elements that kids can engage with as they're listening to the story. And I know a lot of you have said that you love having the scripture embedded into the Bible teaching. So we've taken that. So that's a little sneak peek into how the Bible story section will be structured for Volume 8. So stay tuned. Kelly, what about you? What do you want to draw our attention to in this series?
So in each week of the elementary teaching of Glow in the Dark, kids are going to respond to either a poll or a question that will get them thinking, how does this theme fit within our Bible story? Okay, so week 1, the poll asked them to think about what they know about light already and how that connects to the big idea that we can shine God's light. In week 2, kids are going to discuss what is darkness, and this allows space for them to think about how the Last Supper was the last thing that Jesus did right before he was arrested. In week 3, this fun poll has kids think about their choices, and that relates to the big idea of how we can choose Jesus. In week 4, this poll provides options of what would make kids cry. These choices help kids connect to the Bible story, which is about a time when Jesus got in trouble for no reason. Well, there was a very good reason that he had to suffer, but it wasn't because he did anything wrong. It was so awful that even Jesus himself cried out. And finally, in week 5, kids will be asked a question about Easter and why we celebrate this holiday.
Yeah, I love the polls, and I know some of you, I've heard from some of you saying that you love the polls as well because they're just easy, low prep ways to engage kids. And we also have some fun ideas in there about how you can use different colored glow bracelets to like respond with the poll choices and answers. So it's going to be a good time. So make sure you check that out. I also want to talk about the big idea reveal for this month. Now, for those of you who have never heard of a big idea reveal, the big idea, as you heard earlier, are kind of the main takeaways that we want kids to walk away with. These are universal truths about God, about Jesus that we want kids to hold as connected to the Bible story. And so we like to make a big fuss about revealing it so it'll make it more exciting and have kids really anticipate it and also help them retain it longer. So in this series, we suggest using an invisible blacklight paint or pen where you can write out the big idea and then use a blacklight flashlight and shine it on there. And kids love those reveals, like secret decoder type things. And you can even invite the kids to shine the light. You can invite kids to doodle and draw stuff on there too. So it'll be a really fun way to engage kids. Now, if you do not feel like going that route, you can try different things like crayon resist art is great, where you write on with a white crayon and then you use paint or color pencils or markers to reveal what you wrote in crayon. You could write with highlighters, which I think is also fun because very neon and bright. Or you can do like scratch art. You know, you've seen those where it's like all black and then you scratch it out with something and then it reveals the colors underneath. You can like write the letters or the words of the big idea on different scratch art paper, hide it around the room. You can just have so much fun with it and still stay within the theme.
Linda, I love that because that gives me the freedom and permission to go buy stationery supplies, highlighters,
Yes, there
colored
you go.
paint,
Yes, you
like
may. I
all
mean,
things.
you don't ever have a reason not to, but you know, it's nice to get the permission, right?
I love that. I love that so much. All right, friends, the last thing that I want to talk about is discipleship. Spending time with God is, of course, an important part of discipling kids. And what better time to talk about developing this spiritual habit than Easter? Through this entire series, kids get to learn about how Jesus is the light in the darkness and what it means for them to be in and actively choose the light. So, this quarter's discipleship resource is called the Bible Buddy Reading Plan. Be sure to check it out and see how you can incorporate this reading plan into helping your kids spend time with God during this Easter season.
And don't forget, we do a whole separate deep dive for just discipleship and events. So stay tuned for our quarter 3 deep dive. I'll be joined by Chief Creativity Officer Brooklyn Lindsay, and we're going to have a blast walking through those resources with you. But that's a wrap on our glow in the dark deep dive for Grow Kids Volume 7. If you have any questions and you have any feedback for us, make sure you contact us. We love hearing from you. Drop those notes in the comments, tag us in your photos on social media. We love all the things that you have to do because ultimately we are creating things for you to use and we love to see what you do with it. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you all have a happy Easter. Jesus is alive. Have a great time.
Bye.
Bye.